It's time now for our 360 round. We'll be discussing Nvidia today. Company trading lower this morning despite posting record fourth quarter revenue. They beat expectations on the top and bottom lines, posted strong guidance, but still seeing a move of more than 4% to the downside right now. Joining us now to take a closer look, Olivier Blanchard, the research director at Futurum, and Keith Gangle, the senior portfolio manager at Gradient Investments. Great to have you both with us. Olivier, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on the report that we got from Nvidia and almost more importantly, the market reaction that we're seeing in response to it?
Yeah, thanks, Marley. So it's good to be on. I think, it's always odd to me as a technology analyst, as an industry analyst, to see negative reaction to positive results in the market, especially in the tech sector. I think that there are a few things going on here. Obviously, Nvidia is doing really well. They had a blowout quarter. This is everything that we want to see. Data center spend is still super high. AI is still ramping up. But I think there's some genuine concerns for investors. First of all, in how quickly the ROI equation becomes positive, right? We're still seeing a lot of spend. We're not necessarily seeing a lot of revenue come out of it. And at some point, all these technology companies and their customers have to start telling a better story about ROI. Even if it's in the near future, at least give us, a timeline, sort of a roadmap. The other thing is the transition from training to inference. And I think that's a little bit of a concern for NVIDIA that's been so dominant in training, but inference is a little bit more varied. It opens the door to a lot more CPU and NPU capabilities, which brings a lot of competition from Intel, from AMD, from Qualcomm, Amazon, Google, that sort of threatens the dominance of NVIDIA compared to how dominant it's been in the LLM training phase.
And Keith, you highlighted the hyperscalers. They've got more than 50% of their revenue coming from them, but networking revenue jumped more than 260%, I think, from the report. Is NVIDIA increasingly a data center fabric company now and not just a GPU story? And do you think that the street is properly valuing the networking piece of the business?
Yeah, they are. But again, I think some of these, the margins are what's key to watch here at 75% because competition is coming as well. NVIDIA is by far the leader in the space, and they're doing that just like you mentioned. But at some point in time, if the return is not there for their end customers, they're going to seek cheaper alternatives, even though they may not be the leader. So that's kind of, I think, what the market's trying to struggle with right now. Is like, now the valuation, we haven't talked about that yet. I think there's a support level here at 25 times this year's numbers, growing 60%. If you look at the S&P 500, trades at 22 times for 14-15% growth rate. And then you go fast forward a year, the forecast is for 30% growth rate, and you're going to trade at 18 times, which will be cheaper than the S&P 500. So that's kind of the weird spot we are right now with NVIDIA stock.
All right, so Olivier, let's talk about the valuation then that Keith just highlighted, trading about 25 times earnings here. Does that make NVIDIA cheap right now compared to its history?
My question now is sort of like, where does NVIDIA go from here, right? One of the big trends that we're seeing in technology is that as we enter this inference phase, inference becomes a lot more networked. It becomes a lot more outward. It's not just the hyperscalers. It goes out to the edge. And we're seeing NVIDIA also just play into that piece of bringing solutions more and more to the edge, to devices. We're seeing that with the advent of physical AI or robotics, obviously smart devices. And NVIDIA is very involved in this. And so as we start pushing out a lot of this compute to the edge, the way to monetize that becomes a little bit less clear. And we see the dominance, again, that I keep talking about of NVIDIA early on in this LLM phase and the AI training phase sort of erode with all of this competition, all of these other players, all of these different areas that NVIDIA also has to find a beachhead on in order to keep that leadership level. And that's going to be extremely hard. So NVIDIA is sort of like, it's the leader that everybody's trying to beat right now. There are a lot of scrappy competitors coming in. And it's NVIDIA's market to lose at this point, as opposed to NVIDIA's market to conquer. And I think that's sort of like, its competition is good, but it's definitely creating some tension for NVIDIA in the next few years.
Yeah, NVIDIA's market to lose. You said it. They certainly have a firm grip on it still. But thank you for being with us, both of you, for breaking down these numbers. The reaction we're seeing, NVIDIA trading 4.5% lower right now on the heels of that beat and raise quarter. Olivier Blanchard, the research director at Futurum, and Keith Gangle, senior portfolio manager at Gradient Investments, for helping us break down those